What's up, traders? Today is Thursday, March 4th. Tomorrow is our Trading Accelerator event, which is why I am filming this video at 5:45 in the morning. We have a 10 a.m. flight this morning to fly to Phoenix, but I wanted to take some time to talk to you about my GbpNZD trade from yesterday. I did pull profit out of this trade, as you can see from the P&L. At most, I was up about 30 pips, 34 pips. So I was able to get a nice chunk out of this trade, and I think I managed my position well. But I somewhat repeated the same mistake that I made last week. If you go back to my previous recap on EuroCAD, where I did not get in the re-entry, here on GbpNZD today, I missed the re-entry. So in the same sense, I did not get in, but the difference was that yesterday I was not paying attention. Last week, I watched the EuroCAD entry present and I still stayed out. So this week, my issue wasn't so much that I hesitated, it was more on my focus. And I think that that's important to start this video out with, because focus is a hugely important characteristic that we need to have if we're going to be consistent when we show up to trade every day. And with the traveling I did last week to the Poconos to go skiing, plus the traveling I'm doing this week to go out to Phoenix, my week has been short and very, very busy, getting ready for the event, planning things, just running ASFX and still trying to trade. So I think that overall, my performance was good considering the cloud of other things floating around. However, it still requires analysis. It still requires me to document and go over this trade with you guys because I want to do better. I don't want my focus to lapse, and maybe it means just taking more attention in the morning to not putting so much on my plate for that day, so I don't feel like I have to go look at other stuff while I'm trading. And I think that's what happened here. But anyway, you can see my entry price at 191.64.4. I was out at 191.87, 191.94, and then I got stopped in profit on what I still had in, 1 pip in profit to make sure I didn't lose. Which, if you watch my other recaps, you guys know that that's pretty typical. I normally am locking my stop loss fairly quickly. Now, if we look at the 15-minute first, you can see the move that I caught was not the whole move. I was in, stopped in profit right here as it pulled back, and then it takes off 90 pips higher into the end of the day. The re-entry presented right here at about 7:45. Riley was awake. We were already making moves for the day, trying to get things organized. We had a meeting with our accountant, just a lot of stuff going on. I missed the entry and it takes off. However, because I have really consistent rules with the way that I trade the ASFX systems, I was still able to make money on this position, as you saw from the P&L, even though it wasn't the move, it wasn't the pop. And I know I can't get all out of every move, but I still think that if there is a solid re-entry signal during my trading hours, it's my job to take that signal. But let me show you where this analysis comes from. So if we look back, this is Wednesday, yesterday, the 3rd of March. Here is the 2nd and here is the 1st. You can see it's separated by these vertical lines. Notice these two crazy pins right here. Very, very volatile on GbpNZD the day before I took this trade. That's 165 pips in that pin. But what's more important than those pins is that this day symbolizes to me a day of like reset, a day of consolidation. So now, with that consolidation and this bullish divergence where the RSI set its low back on the 1st, but price continued to come lower, that tells me that we have a strong level of support down here at like 1.913, 1.912. So there's about a 10 pip zone that I would put at the bottom here. In fact, the way that I would draw it is just using my, my 2 candle rule from the low set on Monday. You can see now here, we can see how many times it's respected that zone. Hold on one second, gotta let the cat out. Just kidding, gotta let the cat in. I got one cat, Callie's with me here, but boy, we call him boy, his name is Cash. He wanted to come in and pay attention too, so I let him in. So you see the zone at the bottom, you see the divergence building. Now, what happened here at 1:45 in the morning was that the TDI swapped zones going from the sell zone into the buy zone. That starts to get me interested for longs coming in on this day, especially since we have such a clear level of support. And previous to that, we were looking for bullish momentum. So now we're looking for continued bullish momentum, and we're holding above the 50 EMA. Look at how many times it hits this blue 50 EMA and holds above it overnight. So it breaks right here, holds here, even here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 times before I took my position, this thing hit the 50 EMA and bounced up. So just showing a lot of support there. Now, if we go down to the 1 minute at the time of my entry, same type of analysis. Now, if you're not in ASFX, I should be clear. What this entry is, it's really just a D1 entry. Now, the 15-minute setup definitely could be better, which is why I graded it as a C setup. And when I have C setups, once they move over 1.5 R, my stop loss is always in profit, because you never know. Sometimes C setups turn around and go against you completely. Here was the divergence that I used on the 1 minute. You can see the rising RSI, the falling price action, 1, 2, 3, 4 hits to the bottom. And I really liked that here, it did not even touch the zone. It came higher than it did previous here. So as we came higher, I used the D1 entry signal to take my position. As you can see, the entry price on the right side of the screen, 191.64, just like I showed you on the P&L. And you can see I was not in any drawdown with this position. I took it and it instantly moved into profit about 35 pips or so. Just make sure that's correct. Yeah, just about 35 pips. So with that 35 pip pop, because I was only risking 12 or 13 up over 2R, I'm closing as it moves higher. I actually got out at a really good exit price. If you look, 191.94. It only goes up to 191.98. So I was out 4 pips off the top, which is good. Now, when it breaks back down through the 50, retests the 21 right here, and then comes back down through the 50, I started to get a little worried because I knew it could take out the white 200 EMA right here and still come lower and stop me out, which is what it did. Notice the TDI gets into the sell zone right here, and that's normally a sign that the D1 entry is done. Normally. Sometimes it'll still move for you, but normally when it comes back into the opposite zone, it's beat. Now, I get stopped out. I'm watching this. All of a sudden, GbpJpy gets my attention. So I'm watching GJ then, if we look at the 15-minute. Yesterday, I'm watching it here at the 50 EMA. You can see my divergence is still drawn. I loved the TDI on GJ yesterday. I really thought this was going to make a move higher. It did. It just waited till overnight last night. But while I was watching this yesterday on GJ, I missed the same entry on GN. So because I switched pairs and I was focused on GJ and distracted, I missed this 1 minute divergence on GN. Then after that 1 minute divergence, it signals a D1 and presents 2 potential retests. I really like this one right here. So if I was to drag this over and just show you where I would have taken my position. And I only know I would have taken my position here because it's the same rules. I look for a certain retest. I don't want to say too much because this is a YouTube video, but I look for a certain retest and certain structure points. Now that position would have put me in at like 191.80. If we go to the 15-minute, you'll see where that entry would be right here as it's coming off the 800, off the 50, and off the 21 EMA. So the first position was here about 530, 545, gets taken out in profit here as it breaks out for a new high of day, right, past these previous highs, pulls back, still holds the upshift. Look at how the 8 and the 21 are still in an upshift. It just retests those significant levels, and that's where it presents the reentry and it pops 80 pips for you. That move was the move of the day. And I think I did well to still take advantage of the first pop, but I think I need to still not get so locked in on one pair. If I really could assess myself for anything today, it would be not getting too caught up on GJ just because the setup is really clean. Like just because we have a good looking TDI and good looking EMAs here doesn't mean I need to only watch GJ. I still should have stayed focused on GN, GBpNZD, since I already took a position on it. And it's the same argument, same justification that I was talking about with EuroCAD last week, where I took the position, got stopped in profit, closed some of it in profit. After I was out of it, I didn't take the reentry. I just watched it happen and it fell like 150 pips into the next day. So again, here you see an 80 pip move. So I think for me, the biggest lesson is don't get lost in other pairs, don't get locked in on one pair, and don't get distracted by other stuff that I have going on off the desk to the point where I know I have been distracted before. I know I've gotten frustrated before when I see this happen. So what I do now is I just pull myself off completely. After I took the first GbpNZD position yesterday, I just walked off. And once I saw that I was missing the second one, I was like, okay, I'm done. I got to go get myself off the desk before I jump into freaking Euro NZD and just start shorting the top or something like that. Doing something completely emotional, you know what I mean? I think that, the big takeaway is the focus, though. The focus has to be there. I think meditating in the morning is a big thing for that. And I've got, I don't want to give out too much information about it yet, but I've got something coming for you guys that are looking for more on the meditation. It's coming out this year, so just stay tuned. Just a lot of things that I do beforehand to help me focus. I kind of dropped the ball yesterday a little bit just because I was busy. So no excuses, just analyzing myself as much as I can because I want to be better. And I want to share the analysis with you guys so you can see how unbiased I am towards myself.
more critical than anything else, hopefully, and also how I go about the analysis after every trade the same way, win or loss. If I had lost this trade, I would have analyzed the same way that I just did here with you guys. And that's the most important thing too. Focus goes hand in hand with consistency. And I think if you're trying to be a successful trader, if you're trying to make money, especially in markets like what we're going through right now, consistency and focus are what make the difference, because most people are short-term focused, and when they don't get that gratification that they're looking for, they bounce and they go do something else. They look for another strategy. They make the same mistakes that 90% of traders make. So let me leave you with one thing. I had a coaching call yesterday with one of our ASFX members, and he said to me, Austin, if I did what all the other people that say they're trading do, isn't it fair to think that I wouldn't make any money? And I said, absolutely, because we know 90+% of people that are in the markets aren't going to make money quarter after quarter after quarter for at least 5 quarters in a row. It's very, very hard. So what people do is they jump from strategy to strategy. They let their focus lapse in the pursuit of that short-term outcome. So I challenge you to be unbiased with yourself. Be analytical with yourself. Be critical of yourself, but also give yourself a positive pat on the back sometimes too. I feel like, look, I made money yesterday. I'm not going to be mad about that, and I can always do better, and that's what excites me about trading. I change the perspective on the whole learning experience by letting it excite me. The failures, quote unquote failures, the little mistakes that I make, they get me fired up because that leads to future growth. And I hope that me sharing my stuff with you guys does the same for you. So comment below if you have any questions. Comment below if there was anything that I missed that you wanted to hear in this video. If there's anything that I can do for you, please reach out to me via email. I'm headed out today to fly to Phoenix for the Trading Accelerator event. Very excited for that. I appreciate everybody taking the time and the money to come to the Phoenix event. We should have another one coming soon. So if you want to come to an accelerator event where we do live trading and live education and networking for a full day, stay tuned. I've got more info for that coming soon. But I appreciate you guys very much. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Or I'll see you in Phoenix tomorrow.